Hello everybody, welcome back to Pwnage Gaming. My name is Russ, and today we will be taking a look at my predictions for the rest of the season moving forward. I don't know which one of these videos will be posted first. I did do an NFL mid-season review, and I'm recording this in the same day. So yeah, let's just get right into it. If you came from the NFL mid-season review video, or if this is the first video that gets posted up and you take a look at the NFL mid-season review video after this, you'll get my full synopsis on the rundown of how the league's going so far this year. So let me get into the NFL predictions here. But right now it's been a really strange season, really, to say the least, in terms of what top teams there are moving forward and throughout the season. There's a couple of top teams that I expected to be there, and there's a couple of top teams that are there but weren't expected, just kind of came out of nowhere sort of thing. So right now, at the time of recording, it is week 9. I've not watched any of the games so far. They're all still going on. It's still the early bracket of week 9. The only game that I can't predict is the Jets and Texans, and I would have picked the Texans to win that anyway, just based on what's going on. But yeah, so moving forward right now, if the playoffs started today, right? Taking a look at that. If the playoffs started today and we took a look at the top 7 teams in each conference, the teams that would make it in right now at this very moment, starting off with the AFC, starting from 7 seed to 1 seed. So in the last wildcard spot, you'd have the Chargers at 4-3. In the second wildcard spot, you'd have the Ravens at 5-3. The Broncos would have the 5 seed at 5-3 as well, due to them having a slightly better conference record of 2-2 as opposed to the Ravens 2-3. Then you get into your division winners, and the 4 seed would be the NFC eventual AFC South champions, Houston Texans. The Buffalo Bills would be sitting at the 3 seed. The Steelers sitting at the 2 seed, and the Chiefs, which no one's surprised, sitting at the 1 seed so far. Them being the only unbeaten team in the NFL, though, they're still the only team that has a chance to beat what the 1972 Dolphins did, and that's be perfect throughout the entire year, unblemished record. But moving forward, and in the NFC, sorry, tried to move a little too fast there, but going from the NFC now, 7 seed would be the Eagles at 5-2, the Vikings at 5-2 in the 6 seed, the Green Bay Packers at 6-2 in the 5 seed, the Arizona Cardinals sitting at 4-4, the Falcons sitting at 5-3, and the Commanders sitting at 6-2, and the Lions leading the whole thing, sitting at 6-1. I can't remember if we did make a video on this or not, but I made it known that before the year, my prediction for the season, for the Super Bowl for the season, was Detroit and Kansas City, and right now both teams sitting at the top of the conference is only confirming my suspicions going forward. So the purpose of this video is just going to be me kind of going through the next couple weeks, looking at some key games that are going on, and giving my synopsis for who should make the playoffs. A couple games going on this week. You have the Rams and the Seahawks starting off later today. You have Saints and Panthers in a tight game too for NFC South supremacy of the basement. Then you also have the Buccaneers versus the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football this week. Interesting game. It should be between Patrick Mahomes and Baker Mayfield. I think that might suck for them, though. Not having Mike Evans is a blow. Not having Chris Godwin for the rest of the year is a blow. I don't know if Cade Otton is dealing with any injuries either. But Mayfield has his work cut out for him against a really stout Kansas City defense this week. Other key games in the AFC that you should look out for. Broncos Ravens, that would potentially affect the playoff race going forward. The Browns sitting at 2-6, trying to beat the Chargers right now. Looking at the current scores of the week, Titans are up 7-3. Dolphins are up 10-3 on the Bills, but it's still, it's still early. It's still an early contest at the moment. So we'll see more moving forward. Then you have the Sunday night game tonight too, between the Colts and the Vikings. We'll see if the Vikings, who got some much needed rest coming off of a Thursday night football loss to the LA Rams, get 10 days of rest, so they should be pretty primed and ready to take on the Colts moving forward. But moving forward, I do think we have a few teams here that it just confuses me that on how they are, what's the word I'm looking for, how they have flipped the script, so to speak, right? And a lot of these teams last year I'm looking at were basement dwellers sitting at the bottom. A couple of them I saw, towards the top. And one team in particular that I'm kind of surprised with, but not totally surprised with, is the Chiefs. And the reason I say that is because, yes, I expected them to be 7-0. Yes, I expect them to be the top team in the NFL. They're back-to-back reigning Super Bowl champions. They are the best team in the league, but not with the best production. A lot of people have complained about the refs bailing them out in games, which, that's up to your own opinion. I'm not going to get into that here. This is not that kind of video. So aside from any ref help or ref ball going on, you have the Kansas City Chiefs sitting at 7-0, but you also have a Patrick Mahomes who's sitting with 6 touchdowns on the year and 8 interceptions, I believe. I don't know if his stats have updated yet. Let me take a look here. Okay, so he's thrown 8 touchdowns to 9 interceptions, but he has a completion percentage of 68.4%. 1,000, which isn't bad, but his quarterback rating is what is getting me the most. Is he has an 84.9 quarterback rating. He's thrown 8 touchdowns to 9 interceptions, which is insane because in his career he has 227 touchdowns to only 72 interceptions. But he has also had the most interceptions since 2018 get called back for penalty. So there's that as well. But like I said, I'm not going to get into the ref ball. I just think during the second half of the stretch, if Mahomes can stay on top of his game, more importantly than anything else, and start improving in the areas that are necessary, especially with his decision making. 9 interceptions, not a great look through the first half of the year. But on the flip side, you're 7-0, so there's still time for you to make improvement. There's still time for Mahomes to return to MVP form and ball out like everyone knows that he can. And the big goal for them this year is becoming the first NFL team to three-peat. But on top of that, with them being 7-0, being the first NFL team that could possibly be 20-0. Other teams that surprise me that moving forward are the Steelers and the Broncos. Broncos have had a rookie quarterback Bo Nix has been phenomenal, to say the least. Outside the Seattle game, the first game of the year, he has been exceptionally great. And even in the Seattle game, he was still playing well. He still had a pretty good debut. And Sean Payton's got this team rolling. They're sitting at 5-3. They have a winning record through 8 games for the first time since the 2015 season. Nearly 9 years ago now, since they've started this good. And, the Broncos were a team a lot of people expected to take an even further step back and to just kind of dwindle and be the basement dweller in the AFC West. Well, right now, Orange Crush is on a roll, sitting at 5-3. Looking forward, you could have some problems here. They play Baltimore this weekend, so probably give that game to Baltimore. They also play Kansas City the next week. I'm probably going to give that game to Kansas City. They play Atlanta the next week after that, so I give that to them. Then they play the Raiders, and they play the Browns. Then they have their bye week in week 14, which comes at a really good point, because after then they'll only have 4 games left on the year. And honestly, going down the last 4 games, I mean, they can win 3 in a row. They have the potential to win 3 in a row here, after they have their 2 tough games against Baltimore and Kansas City. Not to say that they couldn't steal either of those games, they most certainly could, but looking at a realistic point of view, without having like any like biases or hope for the team, completely objective view, a team like the Ravens should beat the Broncos. A team like Kansas City should beat the Broncos. And a team like Atlanta should still also beat the Broncos, but I feel like after a 2-game skid, Bo Nix might bounce back, have a good breakout game, and keep moving forward. And then you have, after the bye week, they have the Colts, Chargers, Bengals, and Chiefs. So for the current playoff teams right now, I will do this and just kind of see what happens moving forward. So in all intents and purposes, the Broncos should finish 10-7. They're sitting at 5-3 right now, so meaning they would go 5-4 over the next stretch. But I mean, that's not a bad thing. I don't think that's a bad thing. 10-7 is still a good record for them to be able to get into the playoffs. One other team that I want to look at real quick is the Texans. The Texans have had a pretty up and down year, not in terms of record. They're sitting at 6-3 and are 3-0 against the division and 5-1 against the conference. It's just they have had some weird games. The loss to the Jets and the loss to Green Bay probably the most surprising, because C.J. Stroud played his worst game at Lambeau by far in his career. And the game against the Jets was just insane nonsense, to say the least, coming towards the end. Then you have games that they've had against the Colts, the Bears. They've lost the Vikings early in the year. The win over the Jaguars and win over the Bills are probably really, really huge victories for them, especially when it comes to seeding in the conference. You have the Texans playing the Lions next week. That one I'd probably give to the Lions just for the moment. So I'd have the Texans drop to 6-4, but it gets better because their schedule does open up a little more until week 16 when it starts to get tough again. I think they beat teams like Dallas, Tennessee, Jacksonville, the Dolphins, which would put them all the way up to 10-4. With 3 games left, I mean, they play the Ravens and they play the Chiefs. I don't think they're beating the Chiefs, and I'd say I think they can beat the Ravens. I think they can beat the Ravens, and I think they can beat Tennessee as well. So they'd finish 12-5, which is respectable, which is very, very respectable. As far as Kansas City goes, getting to talk about them, I think they win on Monday night against the Buccaneers, and then beat the Broncos the next week. But you have a game against the Bills in Buffalo. And with the way that Patrick Mahomes has played so far this season, I'm not sure they can get it done. And Josh Allen has been on a tear as of late. So I'd probably give this game to Josh Allen and the Bills, handing the Kansas City Chiefs their first loss of the year, setting them to 11-1. I think Chiefs have no problems with Carolina, Las Vegas, LA, or Cleveland. I think their second loss, though, does come in week 17 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So they'd finish 15-2. So they wouldn't get that perfect season, but they would still claim the top seed in the NFC, or in the AFC. And then moving on to the NFC, 2 teams I want to look at. The Arizona Cardinals, they're sitting at 4-4. And right now with the Cardinals, they're playing the Bears this Sunday, starting in probably like 2 hours from now, at the time of the recording. The Cardinals taking on the Bears. It should be an interesting matchup just to see if Caleb Williams can get back on track this week and get the Bears back to winning. I mean, sitting at 4-3 with the Chicago Bears, especially after the last couple of seasons that they've had, Caleb Williams has been a big uplifting part of that. He fits in their scheme so well, and the team is tailored to Caleb Williams' strengths. On the flip side of that, You have the Arizona Cardinals, who have been a very, very up and down team with how they've played so far this year. I mean, one week they're getting blown out 42-14 by the Washington Commanders, and then the next week get a 1-point escape win over San Francisco. I mean, they started off the season with a 34-28 loss to the Bills. Not a bad loss. Not a bad loss at all. But you also have games that they've had against the Rams where they've blown them out 41-10. And then a game against the Lions where they lose 20-13. And then lost to the Commanders 42-14. And then all of a sudden beat the San Francisco 49ers 24-23. And then lose 34-13 to the Packers the next week. But they won the last 2 games in a row. I'd be inclined to also give this game to Caleb Williams, though. I just think I think Chicago's the better team. I do. I don't think the Cardinals are there yet necessarily. I do have the Cardinals beating the Jets. I'm going to sound like a homer here because I am a Seahawks fan, but I am giving the win to Seattle when they play. Actually, I'm giving both wins to Seattle. I don't think Seattle's bad to a point where they can't beat Arizona. I also think they lose to the Vikings. They beat the Patriots. They'll beat the Patriots. They'll beat the Panthers. They'll beat the Rams. I think they lose to the Niners for the last game of the year. They'd finish 8-9. Not great. Not ideal. But more ideal than them sitting in the basement and losing out going forward. I think the Cardinals are a very, very, very Jekyll and Hyde team. I think they're great against teams with a losing record. I think they're in that weird category. They can beat teams with a winning record. They can beat teams with a losing record, but they can't beat teams with a winning record. And then the last thing we want to talk about on this predictions is you have the Detroit Lions. Going forward, I mean, right now they're sitting at 6-1 and are 7-1 and are one of the best teams in the NFC right now, or in the league at the moment. They go on to play Jacksonville. I think they beat Jacksonville. I think they beat Indianapolis. I think they beat Chicago. I think they beat Green Bay at home. I think Green Bay beats them in Lambeau, though. Then you have the Bills. I think they beat the Bills. And I think they beat the Bears. I see this team being... I see this team... Then you have them playing the Niners. Sorry, forgot about 2 games. I'll probably give that to the Niners and give them a win over the Vikings to end the year. You have them at 14-3. There's nothing wrong with that. I think 14-3 is good and is correct when you really look at everything. I think Detroit is a very complete team. Not having Aiden Hutchinson does suck for them, but the 2 top teams in the league right now are the Detroit Lions and the Kansas City Chiefs. So my official Super Bowl prediction for the year, as if I hadn't stated it before, is Kansas City versus the Detroit Lions in Super Bowl 59 in Louisiana. So that is my prediction for the rest of the year. And once we come playoff time, we'll get my playoff predictions in, and we'll see what happens moving forward. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I appreciate all the support that we get on these, and don't forget to click like, share the video with your friends, share the video to everyone you know. Tap the bell to get all of our post notifications right after you hit that subscribe button, and we will see you guys in the next video. And don't forget, comment down below to see to suggest new things for us to present to the channel. So yeah, I will see you guys later.